Hey, hey guys. Back again. Still morning time. Me and Noah and Scout went to the dog park. We got one behind the library here. And we went and hung out. First time taking the dog to the dog park. Take a Scout. And he did good. He's a good dog. He's always been a good dog. He's one that I don't really have to worry about taking him out in public or anything like that. He always behaves. He's good with people, good with other dogs. Very proud of that. He's a good boy. And Noah did really good too. There was a couple other dogs for the Scout to play with, and Noah got to play with. It was a fun time. We'll go again sometime. I had mentioned it yesterday, and I feel like I'll go into it today. I'm going to describe a dream that I had. And it was the one that revealed the entities that I had spoke for in my childhood. Some of them, now one of them I already knew because I had a memory, right? One of the foolish members of that group that was using and abusing me back then, either they had no idea that I was under the mind control and wasn't aware of being used, or they just didn't believe it themselves. Either way, they messed up. They didn't follow proper protocol. But he said it happened 2 different times. Both of them, they said something to me about speaking for bail. And I go, bail? They said, bail? And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I had no idea. Anyway. One of my favorite rock and roll singers of all times. I think he's a great writer. He was a great writer. He's a 90s alt-rock guy from the Northwest. I had a dream. He was in one of my dreams. I don't dream about him often. But he was in one. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll describe it. We'll just call this guy Chris. Anyway, in this dream I had, me and Chris are hanging out. We're hanging out at my house. And for some reason in this dream, I lived on the river. I lived in a house on a saltwater river, so somewhere on the coast. It looked a lot like Savannah or Midway. Kind of had that look to it. Big oak trees, mossy oak trees. So if you've ever seen the southeastern coast, you'll have an idea what I'm describing. Kind of like the Golden Isles. Anyway, I'm hanging out with Chris. We're hanging out. We're at my house. And I have this neighbor. He's next door. And me and Chris are hanging out, and Chris he gets this idea. He goes, hey, let's go rob your neighbor. I didn't think that was a good idea. I said, I don't know, Chris. But I let him convince me to do it anyway. So he convinces me. And later that night, that evening, me and Chris go over to the neighbor's house. Now, if you're familiar with homes and on the coast, a lot of times there'll be houses that are on piers, high up. Like stilts for houses. 10, 12 feet above the ground. And a lot of times the living space is up there. And then the space below will be like a giant carport, utility kind of area. So we go up to this house. And at the bottom of the house, guy's got a boat, fishing gear, typical stuff that you'd see in a house that lived right, that was there off the coast. And we walk up to the stairs, me and Chris. And it's nighttime. It's dark. Full moon. So it's not completely dark. Anyway, we walk up to the steps. And then all of a sudden, the lights turn on. And at the top of the steps at the door, the man comes out. You can't really see him. It's more of like his silhouette. And he goes, "What are y'all doing here?" Says to me and Chris. At that moment, I take it upon myself to kind of like BS our way of, not being like, to dance, to not say like, "Oh yeah, we're here for mischief." I said something about how we wanted to hang out and check out his place. And I introduced us. I said, "Me and Chris." Well, the man doesn't really seem quite sure. He almost kind of seems like he doesn't believe that story, but he goes, "Well, y'all might as well come in." And so we walk up the stairs and we go in this man's house. And as we meet this man, he gives us a tour of his place, of his abode. And it turns out, whoever this man was, he was an old guitar legend. We saw all these old vintage guitars hung up on the wall, amps, all kind of just classic retro gear. Somebody that, something that somebody who used to be in the music business would have. Memorabilia, posters, all kind of stuff. And it became clear that this guy was definitely somebody in the business, maybe an old artist or something. And I remember making a comment or something about how, his stuff looked really, wow, you really got some cool stuff, like this is pretty cool. And the man says, "Yeah, I'm something of a picker myself," was what he had said to us. Anyway, some time passes and the man goes, "Well, you guys had better be going." And so he ushers us to the door and we walk down the steps and we leave. And as me and Chris are walking out of the man's yard, I turned around to Chris and I said, "Chris," I said, "that was a stupid idea. Why did we do that? We could have just became friends with that guy. He was a cool dude. We really messed up that relationship by going up there that way." Talking about how we had bad intentions. Right? So I confront Chris. And Chris doesn't exactly like my confrontation. In fact, he responds violently. All of a sudden, Chris has a knife, and he starts swinging it, slashing it at me. I dodge the attacks. And eventually, I grab hold of Chris's wrist, and I get control of the blade. In our struggle, and I get control of the blade, a grand opportunity opens itself up to me, and I have a chance to deliver a fatal blow if I choose to. He's wide open. But instead, I hesitate and I don't take a fatal strike. Instead, I just slice Chris's hand because I don't want to kill him. At that moment, the fight stops. And I see blood running down Chris's hand, dripping off his finger. And the blood drips down onto some parchment, some paper. And as I look at the parchment, I read so many words. I don't remember every single thing it said, but it said something about these are the spirits and beings that have been through this vessel. And I realized at that moment that the paper's talking about me. And at the bottom of the page it says Baphomet, Belial, Baal. And then at the very bottom it said Jesus Christ. And at that moment blood drips and hits the word Jesus. And then I wake up. And that was that dream. I was in the middle of my awakening process during that, when that dream came about. And it's how I knew that I channeled for Belial and Baphomet. It was revealed to me. I already knew that I'd been used for Baal. But yeah, God will reveal things to you in your dreams, especially if you are a seer. That is a specific gift. It's relatable to prophecy. A lot of prophets were seers. Now, why Chris was there, couldn't tell you. Maybe it's because, I liked his music. Maybe his name was somehow relatable. Chris. Maybe something was being revealed to me that, maybe that particular artist was also a white mage. They have them in Hollywood. Not everybody in Hollywood's in the Illuminati and a black occultist. Not everyone. It's just a lot. But anyway, I thought I'd be interesting to share. That'd be an interesting story to share with you guys. I hope y'all enjoy it. And if I have any more, come to me. I'll talk to you some more then. Y'all have a good day.